I don't know why my nervousness just picked up again. This is like a totally new world. And so it feels super uncomfortable to be here. Sorry, I'm just a bit... I didn't expect to get... Sorry. You start to think about the things that you missed out on. And I feel weird being an adult in an adult swimming class crying about swimming. You actually start to realize a lot of things about what you didn't get access to. Not only so I sound silly, but just... I was not expecting to cry.
That's all right.
Yeah. I'm at an indoor aquatic centre in Mount Druitt, waiting for my first ever swimming lesson to start. The other students are starting to arrive. We are all adults who can't swim. And now we're taking the plunge. This is episode 2 of Sink or Swim, a podcast about learning to swim over one super hot Sydney summer. If you haven't listened to episode 1, I recommend you start there.
Half the population can't swim 50 metres.
It's a real Australian story, not a tourism ad.
It's officially the worst ever summer for drowning.
Western Sydney this summer could be the hottest place on earth.
This podcast is set in my home, the Blacktown local government area in Western Sydney, over the summer of 2023-24. We're on track to become one of the hottest places in the world.
People on other parts of the world will face the same problems. We are the test bed.
The people who are actually most vulnerable are the most likely people to die from heat.
It's a preview of a much hotter future that all of us are facing. I'm Angelica Salakis. In this episode, I get out of the heat and into the water. Hi, I'm just here for the swim sense classes as well. Angelica? It's day 1 of a week-long swimming intensive course for adult beginners. I signed up at the beginning of summer, and I was lucky to get in because it booked out quickly. It's one of the only free swimming courses I could find in my neighbourhood.
First and foremost, safe entry into the pool. So, how we're going to enter the water today?
This is our swimming instructor.
Hi, my name's Elena Aquilina.
What a name.
And I've been a swimming instructor for 5.5 years.
We're starting from the very beginning.
All right, so the basic steps we want is safe entry into the water. Then the major one, blowing bubbles. And then once we're comfortable putting our face in the water, we introduce kicking. So those 3 things would be your basics. Yep. 1, 2, 3. The longer you stand there and think about it, the longer.
There's about 10 of us gathered around the edge of the pool. Most of us are scared to even get in the water. My goal for the week is to swim 50 metres. It's the length of the race I attempted to swim at the school carnival back in Year 7. Yeah, that's the length of an Olympic swimming pool, so it's pretty bold. I'm quietly keeping this goal to myself. I'm not telling Alina, my husband Daniel, my mom Lucy, or anyone in my class.
Have a seat, everyone.
The first person I make friends with is Zamir.
My name is Zamir.
Zamir wasn't sure he even wanted to come today.
I was on the fence about it because I've tried to learn swimming for decades. And because I have a trauma where I drowned as a kid, when I visited a waterfall with my friends, and I was stupid enough to go into the waterfall without knowing the depth. I have no recollection of what happened because I drowned. And one of my friends was, brave enough to pull me by the hair and get me out. So I was unconscious. After that, I was always scared of water, I tried this so many times, but I cannot,
I totally understand Zamir. I've also tried many times since I nearly drowned at the swimming carnival. An experience like that just sticks with you. The first thing Alina asks us to do is to put our faces into the water and blow bubbles, which isn't as easy as it sounds.
We're breathing, blowing out our bubbles, taking our breath, blowing out our bubbles.
My husband, Daniel, is watching me from the side of the pool.
I think she's doing good. at the moment. I saw lots of bubbles when she put her head under. She definitely is feeling nervous. She didn't seem nervous like yesterday or the day before, but when we started coming here is when I realised, she's quite nervous. But now that she's in there, I think she looks like she feels safe at least, yeah.
I do feel safer now. I've gotten into the water, I've put my face in, and I'm blowing bubbles.
I don't know what I was nervous about. It just that was a lot easier than what I thought it was going to be. Yeah.
At the end of the first lesson, everyone is giggling and smiling at each other. It's a relief. We took our first big step. We all faced our fears, and it wasn't that bad.
Lesson 1 done. Lesson 1 done. Oh my goodness. Okay, I feel really happy. I'm smiling quite a lot. I just feel really happy that I did that. So I was just speaking to one of the guys in the pool, and he was like, it's just the getting into the water is the hardest bit.
You did the breathing perfect. Like you took a few gasps and it came out really well. Yep. I was drinking water, but you were actually breathing. So
Yay, I thought I was doing it wrong. Because in your mind you think that you're not doing it right.
Our class is such a mix of people. I didn't expect that, but I love it. There's an older woman who looks pretty tough, but as we approach the water, she looks terrified.
I'm very nervous still. I laugh because I'm covered in tattoos, so I can sit there for 8 hours and be tattooed, but I can't do it. My kids swim, my grandkids swim, and I just wave.
And now it's like, this is my time.
I'm getting a lot older, so I thought if I don't do it now, I'll never do it.
Yeah.
So, and I look at like kids and go, oh my God, how do you do that?
Yeah, and that's the same thing I have with when I take my siblings to the swim centre or I go to the beach. I'm like, I can't stand on the side waving and being like, yeah, you enjoy and
come in. Yeah, I'm like, no. I'll hand the bags. I've got a 3-year-old granddaughter, and she's obstinate and doesn't do anything that she doesn't want to do. And if she can do it, I can do it.
I don't want to sit on the sidelines either. That's not who I am.
I think everyone should be doing it. We've had too many people die this year, just from drownings.
That's what I said to you yesterday, drowning's too much paperwork. Hell no.
It's day 2 of the swimming program.
We want you guys where you are comfortable, where you are safe. All right? As we've seen a lot in the news just at the beginning of this year, we have had a lot of drownings, okay? This is why we create this program.
This summer is one of the hottest on record in Australia. And already, dozens of people have drowned.
64 people have drowned since December 1.
New figures say adults, not children, are now at most risk of drowning in the summer.
One of those drownings happened here in Western Sydney. Just before Christmas, there was a brand new swimming spot that opened up in Penrith.
And on Boxing Day, a 35-year-old man went missing at Penrith Beach, sparking a full-scale search. 4 hours later, his body was pulled from the water.
Penrith Beach closed after 35-year-old Seti Tuopepi drowned while paddleboarding with children.
Penrith Beach was meant to solve one of the big problems in Western Sydney, the lack of places to swim. It's our first ever beach here. They even call it Pondi. It's an artificial lake in an old quarry, so it's not a beach. That might sound a little underwhelming, but that hasn't stopped the crowds. I head down with my family to check it out.
What brought you to Penrith Beach?
So we've been hearing about the beach in the west and we stay in Marsden Park, so we thought this is the closest option, otherwise it takes 2 hours to reach any beach.
Yeah.
The cost of time, the cost in tolls, parking in the east, whereas here, like we literally came down for a quick dip and then we're going to head home and get ready to go to the night markets tonight. So we've still got money in the pocket to go and do that.
I've always been a big fan of like rivers and ponds and stuff over beaches. I mean, the eastern suburbs and the beaches and stuff are great. I mean, I'm a confident swimmer, but like the idea of getting caught in a rip and pulled out somewhere really freaks me out.
It freaks me out too, and it should. The hotter it gets, the more people are drawn to the water. But many of us are just not safe there.
There's more drownings and poor swimming skills. About half the population can't swim 50 metres.
This is Olympian Shane Gould. In episode 1, She told us that swimming is part of our national identity. It's in our cultural DNA. But she found in her recent PhD research that many of us can't swim very well. And that kind of shocks me.
In order to be safe in the water, you have to feel safe. And so perhaps that side breathing freestyle that you see in swimming races is not the goal that should be put in front of people. Maybe just the safety of being able to manage the water calmly and to remain confident and understanding of your situation if you do get into trouble should be the goal. The current measurements are, can you swim 50 metres doing freestyle?
That's actually the goal set by the Royal Lifesaving Society Australia for primary school students in Australia, to be able to swim 50 metres and float for 2 minutes. Kids are also meant to have 10 swimming lessons in Year 3 to achieve that. I can't remember ever getting those lessons, and even if I did, it doesn't feel like it's enough. You might remember that this 50 metres was my ambitious goal for the week. But what Shane's saying makes me wonder if I should rethink that. On that day at the swimming carnival in Year 7, the most useful skill that I could have had would have been just knowing how to stay calm.
If you fell off your stand-up paddleboard or your leg rope broke and you had to make non-emotional decisions to get yourself back to land, it might take you half an hour. Can you manage your emotions and your physical capacities for that much time?
You might be able to manage them on land, but Shane says it's a different story in the water.
If you've got water covering your mouth or inside your mouth, you don't want to inhale that. So that can be really scary for a lot of people.
I was not aware that you can breathe inside the water, which I learned today.
This is Vipul.
And of course, you have to lift your head a little bit while you do the freestyle or whatever swimming you do, so that you can inhale and exhale properly.
It's like when they break down the steps, like step by step, and you realize, oh, that's why you have to breathe like this.
Vipul is the most determined person I've met here. His whole family are learning to swim. And he and his wife are both in my class. They struggle with each new skill we learn, but neither of them gives up.
The moment I go in the water, I dip myself inside and I'm not able to hold my breath for 1 second as well. So I said, no, I'm going to take the bunny back. I'm going out. Then I said myself, no, I have to learn. So that's how, and now I'm enjoying. Heard one sentence of don't think. If you think, you drink the water.
Sometimes I look over at Vipul and I see him thrashing in the water with every bit of his strength, not really understanding how his body works in this unfamiliar environment. A terrified look on his face, but determination in his eyes. And as soon as the class ends, while I'm catching my breath and reflecting on everything, he and his wife stay in the water for an hour or so, practicing what we just learned. They just keep going. The next couple of days of the swimming program go by quickly. We practice kicking, freestyle strokes, and floating, all with the board. Okay, ready? I show my sister Shania videos of my progress that Daniel has been recording from the side of the pool.
Okay. See, this one I like because you're actually swimming, even though you've got like the board in front of you to like assist you. So that one gives me more hope that you can actually swim once you're done with this program.
How does it make you feel?
It encourages me. I mean, like from the first few videos and how like you gradually got better at it, it really is encouraging me to actually want to pursue swimming lessons.
That's what I like to hear. One of my motivations for learning to swim was to encourage my family and friends to overcome their fears too. Can you tell I'm an older sister? I show my mum some videos too.
Wow, how cool is that? That's like magic. So you can go out now and swim, really? Yeah?
No.
Why not? But you can do that.
But I'm holding a board.
Yeah, do it. Do it and keep holding a board and then keep losing it, as you go. Now you can actually do the rest by yourself. I think you should. go every weekend, go with Daniel and take a board and keep doing it. That's like learning in everything else. I think practice is what makes it. Once you get the hang of it, yeah, then do it yourself. Keep doing it yourself. My reaction to all of this is just a happy one. You know, that you are brave enough to do it and that you will be able to swim, before you know it. What I feel is a little bit emotional because I'm thinking, this is something you should have known already,
It kills me that my mum still feels bad about this, and it's not her fault at all. Maybe if I learn to swim now, that guilt will start to disappear. And I am getting there. Just slowly. The day Alina tells us to leave our boards on the side of the pool is a scary day. There's nothing to hold on to now.
I panicked a little bit only because the board wasn't there, but I just had a memory when I've gone into the pool with you, Dan, and it'll be like that first little bit where I don't want to go, like that was what that was. We'll give it a go now.
Little big push off.
This is the part where I have trouble staying calm. I remember what Shane Gould said about not panicking when things don't go the way you expect. But it's not that easy. I am glad, though, that Daniel's here giving me encouragement.
But it's always the starting bit, like push off, like 1, 2, 3. Once she gets going, she's all right, but I think the first bit, just like making the effort to get going. She looks like she's doing it all right.
I'm finding this lesson hard and stressful, but I'm glad I'm here in the water on this really hot day.
I think it's one of the best ways to keep cool.
This is Professor Sebastian Pfautsch.
Even if you don't swim, but you just float, just being in that cool, calming environment that water can be takes heat stress off your mind. You dip in, you already start cooling off just by, having your toes in the water because it helps cooling your blood down.
Sebastian is an urban planning expert and heat researcher at Western Sydney University.
I wish there would be more facilities in Western Sydney that help people cooling down, because when you look at the population density and availability of public pools, Western Sydney is definitely disadvantaged.
It's just not fair that there are fewer places in Western Sydney to cool off.
There's no space in the death certificate to write down a heat wave. I just wrote down this as one of the factors that probably causes death.
This is Dr. Kim Loo, a local GP who's been treating patients in Western Sydney and raising awareness about heat and health for more than 30 years. She's talking about one of her patients, Chuck McLeod, who died from heat exposure a few years ago.
Chuck was a patient of mine for about 14 years. He was a long-time smoker and he had a heart disease and the lung disease associated with smoking. I spent a long time talking to Chuck not to go out on his scooter on hot days. And so it was a Saturday and I was rung by his daughter and he died at home. And it looks as though that he went out on his scooter probably to the local Bunnings and then came home and collapsed on the floor. Yeah, it's very sad. In Western Sydney, we know that only 15% of people are metabolically well. There's higher incidence of type 2 diabetes. There's a higher rate of anything that's inflammatory. So we actually have an at-risk population who actually have few choices. The people who are actually most vulnerable because of the way society is structured are the most likely people to die from heat. There are people who are living without the strength of a community around them. And you really can't have a healthy community if you don't have a healthy person.
In Western Sydney, you have millions of people, and we're putting more and more people into the space. Most are new arrivals. They've never experienced these extreme climates of Western Sydney.
This is Professor Sebastian Pfautsch again.
The first thing you need to understand when it comes to heat, the first response of your body is it wants to keep its core temperature at 37.6 degrees Celsius. And to do that, when you are in a hot environment, you start to sweat. And that means your heart has to pump harder just to get all that hot blood to the surface of your skin, where then evaporative cooling helps cool down the blood, which helps keep the core temperature of the body where we're not in danger. Now, you can imagine when around you, you have, let's say, 39 degrees.
Celsius. That's 102 degrees Fahrenheit.
So that's already constantly hotter than your body core temperature. The heart has to work really hard just to keep that blood coming to your surface where hopefully you're well enough hydrated so that you still sweat. And that can give you a cardiac arrest.
This is why heat is sometimes called Australia's silent killer. And it's a big killer too. More people are killed by heat waves than all other natural disasters combined. Between 2006 and 2017, there were 36,000 heat-related deaths.
So we see people dying from extreme heat. It was just too hot, and the heart had to pump all this blood around the body, where simply that was too much for this organ to handle.
Swimming means your body doesn't have to do any of that. It doesn't need to sweat because you're already covered in water. But for some people, this isn't an option. It costs money to keep your house cool, not everyone has a backyard pool, and transport to the beach can be expensive. So if you can't afford all these things, you're at greater risk during heat waves.
Look at the very young. They don't have yet the physical capacity to sweat. When you look at older people, they lose the impulse of feeling thirsty. That's just something that comes with age. So without even realizing, because they don't feel thirsty, they dehydrate. And that pushes you into that area where you don't sweat enough or you stop sweating completely. We've got a project this summer where we look at those populations living in social housing and what do they do? We've got one person, Mary. She helps herself by running 3 mechanical fans, and they all have little plastic bottles in front of them that she strings onto the fan and fills them with ice cubes so that the ice cubes release cools and the wind from the mechanical fan blows that at her. But she's not moving, she's not doing anything else than just sitting there and trying to get through those extreme heat events because she cannot afford to put air conditioning on.
Back at the swimming centre, we've wrapped up our second last class.
I'm proud as punch. How does everyone else feel? Good? Excellent. Much better. Good. Right. All right. I'm looking forward to our last day tomorrow. Hate to say it's our last day. I enjoy this way too much. I know. I enjoy it too much. But I shall see you guys tomorrow night and we'll finish off at a high, yeah? Awesome. See you guys tomorrow. Thank you.
I pull our instructor, Alina, aside. I want to hear what she thinks of my progress. I didn't realise she had noticed how exposed I've been feeling.
The first couple of times that we did things, very tense and shoulders, and I was surprised. You didn't back down from the challenge that I gave you. And especially when it comes to doing it on your own, a lot of the adults are just like, no. For yourself, I seen a major confidence boost because when you got into the pool, I think the first shock was the depth of the water and you're just like, okay, all right.
As I prepare for our last class, I'm thinking about whether I will reach my goal of swimming 50 metres. And if this is even the right goal. Would it actually mean that I could survive in the water? Can I keep calm now if something goes wrong? I'm wondering if we should all be learning more survival skills, both in the heat and in the water, especially here in Blacktown. In the next and final episode, my last swimming lesson. But that's not the end of the story. Getting to this point has me wondering, what are other people doing when it gets really hot?
You'd see people there at 2 a.m. in the morning, 3 a.m. in the morning, and people are just shopping around and just keeping cool.
We had to book a motel for a couple of nights, and that's a lot of money just to cool down.
I find out why it's so hot in Blacktown and what the rest of the world can learn from what we're doing to cope.
our approach to a cool centre, it's not just a building with aircon.
The solution is for people to come together and build community power.
Acting local is so important because that's where you're most effective, because you're with people who trust you.
This is Sink or Swim, an Impact Studios production. This podcast was made on Darug and Gadigal lands. It was written and produced by me, Angelica Ojinaka-Salakis, and Britta Jorgensen. Audio editing by Britta Jorgensen and Celine Teo-Blocky. Additional support from Jane Curtis and Tamsin Peach. The executive producers are Olivia Rosenman and Sarah Gilbert. Sound design by Melissa May. The theme song is by Friday. Podcast artwork and graphic design by Alexandra Morris. Research by Jackie May. Sink or Swim is part of a place-based audio project called Welcome to Blacktown, supported by the Paul Ramsay Foundation. If you want to know more, visit our website www.impactstudios.edu.au/sink or swim.
Give it some meaning, nothing lasts forever.